Good morning, Year 7. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. This is Mr. Sousa welcoming you to today's lesson. For today's lesson, you will need your exercise book or paper and a pen. So please could you write the date and the title of village description. For your do now, I'd like you to create one simile and one metaphor for this image. To remind you, a simile is comparing two things using like or as, for example, as brave as a lion, and a metaphor is comparing two things without using like or as. For example, my friend is a rock. So describing a setting. What does describe mean? It means to give an account or representation of a place, person, or an event, real or imagined. If you are asked to describe something, make your description as clear and vivid as possible. You should be able to show your reader where they are through your descriptions. Don't tell them where they are. Please could you copy this into your exercise book now. What does a good piece of descriptive writing need? So what I'd like you to do is create a mind map or brain dump or a list of all the features or techniques that a good piece of descriptive writing should contain. For a challenge, try and include an example of each of these techniques. So pause the video for 5 minutes to do that now. So here I've got a brain dump of some effective descriptive techniques. So firstly, adverbs, a word that describes a verb. So she slowly washed her hands. Washed is doing word, so it's a verb. Slowly describes the verb, so it's an adverb. Sensory imagery. So this is description involving any of the 5 senses. See, hear, smell, taste, and feel. For example, all I could hear was the ringing of the church bell. Similes and metaphors, we've talked about both of them before in this lesson. Personification, giving human characteristics or emotions to inanimate objects or things. So, for instance, the wind whistled. Onomatopoeia, a word that sounds like its name, such as sizzle or crack. And finally, adjectives, a word that describes a noun. So, for instance, the red flower. A noun is, of course, a person, place, or thing, and so most describing words would be regarded as adjectives. So if you didn't get any of this, please could you write down what you didn't get before you move on. Okay, so let's read through the description together. I was born on a small island in the Caribbean between 2 French islands. The land is named Dominica. It is a small, mountainous island covered with lush rainforest. So when the hot Caribbean sun shone on it, the whole island glowed, a passionate mixture of dark and light greens. This is why most of the locals call it the green gem of the Caribbean man. I lived not close to the beach. I lived high up in the mountainous parts of the rainforest, where it stayed cool and moist. This first extract is both clear and vivid. How has this been achieved? Create a list of all the things that makes this an effective description. You have 10 minutes. Please pause the video now. So let's go through the list of all the things that make this an effective description. Firstly, the setting is established clearly in the first 2 sentences. Also, there are precise adjectives, such as small, mountainous, lush, and hot, that tell us what we want to know. More interesting, colourful language is used to create special effects, a passionate mixture of dark and light greens. Finally, the use of dialect, the green gem, makes it sound more authentic and real. If you didn't get any of these, please note them down now. Okay, so your descriptive task. Your task is to create at least 1 paragraph describing your village. Take 5 minutes to plan and 15 minutes to write. So planning, note down the top 4 things you want to describe from your village. Then choose what techniques you would like to use to describe them. For example, I want to describe the sun rising over the village. I'm going to use personification to do this. The sun kissed the fields, or the sun consumed the fields. Both describe the sun using personification. Remember, you're not writing a story. Stories are like films, whereas descriptions are like a small snapshot of a moment within that film. Your description should create a mental image of the setting and make the reader feel as though they are there. Remember, your description should include sensory imagery that refers to the 5 senses, adjectives, adverbs, language devices, and sophisticated vocabulary, so use words that challenge you where possible. If you get stuck, Use the first 2 lines of the paragraph below, but replace the name of the village with your own. So this is an example paragraph that I've written. Please don't copy it all, do your own, but this should just help you or point you in the right direction. Horsellgate is a quiet, peaceful and quaint village. The houses are miniature, as if they were made for dolls. Each house is covered in a unique pattern of brown and white, dusty cobbles. The early mornings is when Horsellgate is at its most beautiful. The red and amber tones of the morning sun gracefully rises over the forest and kisses the luscious green fields that lead to the village. The faint sound of the church bell rings and echoes through the lanes. This is then followed by the humming, buzzing, and pottering of the villagers beginning their days. So please pause the video now for 20 minutes, to plan and write your descriptive paragraph or paragraphs if you have some more time. Okay, thank you very much for your work today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson and found it useful, and I will see you next time.